A lot of people have abilities, a lot of people, spiritual gifts. And I know this because I work with them. In fact, I would say that most people who have issues, who suffer from a lot of emotional and mental issues and physical issues, I would argue that they probably are not exactly like me, but have extrasensory stuff going on, in my experience. And I think they would probably agree. Once I bring that to light for people, usually it's like, oh, and I think that that's why a lot of the work that I do helps people where other modalities cannot.
So what does that look like? What does that look like whenever somebody is starting to realize that they have something else going on? And this isn't just like regular, maybe anxiety or extrasensory, like hypersensitive physical symptoms versus extrasensory spiritual abilities.
It's pretty magical to watch someone, especially young kids, like teenagers, that have been just crippled with anxiety and depression. It's amazing to watch them just kind of like have those moments where you can feel their minds racing, like, oh, as they start to make sense of how they're feeling. I always tell people healing is a feeling game, and you have to feel it to heal it. So what most people do is they use their mindset to create a story, a narrative. What I want to encourage people to do is to feel that emotion instead of shoving it down. And to watch people start to feel through their traumas and actually start making sense of it on their own. When they come to me, that's what I do for them. I'm actually going into the soul space and finding these traumatic moments that have kind of contributed to where they are now and how they are now. If I can go back in time and find those moments and say, wow, okay, so this is what your soul is telling me. This is how your soul felt in this traumatic moment. This is why it created a soul fracture. Because the soul will fracture. You have like, your soul's comprised of many different colors. And this is how I see things, okay? How I perceive and how I work. It's like little streams of colors. Each color represents one emotion, which represents one piece of you, one piece of your soul. So all of those colors put together is your true nature, your true colors. But when you are fractured or you're missing pieces of you because you've lived a full life and you've had experiences and fell in love and got in a fight and all kinds of things, you lose pieces of yourself. And that's why people end up feeling broken and like something's missing, like a void in their life. So if I can find those things and find those missing pieces of them and bring them home, and then explain to them, well, you're extra sensory. Like most people are empathic, clairsentient. Are you familiar with the clairs?
I am not.
Oh boy. Okay. So we have our five senses: sight, hearing, tasting, smelling, touch. Did I get? Is that all five? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. When I was younger, they tried to put thinking in there. You're way younger than I am.
No, they didn't have that with us. It was just those five senses.
Okay, maybe because I was in gifted classes when I was younger, and maybe we touched upon that in a different class. So you take the five senses. So people who are extrasensory, for me, for example, I can see you, but I can also see the dead. So I can see the living, I can see the dead, I can see the past, present, and future. That's clairvoyance, as I know it. Hearing, I can hear the living, but I can also hear the dead and hear the lies that people tell themselves. That's part of my gift. That's part of the healing process. Getting people to see the lies that they tell themselves. Yeah, a lot of people do that, which is fine. We're all human. What else?
Does that contribute to a soul fracture?
Yeah.
Like rather than recognizing that they are indeed broken, you can tell yourself a lie and say that you're not,
Right.
but you still feel all the negative things.
Correct. Right. That's 100%. That all of that in a nutshell is what you just said. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm fighting for you by fighting your mindset
Mm-hmm.
in order to heal. Because inside, you're feeling this anxiety. You're experiencing this depression. That's what depression is. Depression is the suppression. Depression is the energy that it takes to suppress your emotions. And what are the emotions that you're suppressing? It is all these soul fractures that make up who you are, that the missing pieces of you. We hold them here in the soul, in your heart. This is a chakra. We have all these chakras, they're energy points in our body. There's 7 main chakras. Each one represents a color, which represents an emotion, which represents one piece of your soul. So in the heart chakra area, that is where all the broken pieces of you are housed.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do healing work, I'm actually like Dr. Strange. I'm funneling.
The sound effect.
Yeah, I'm funneling into the vortex because the chakras spin, and I'm just like making my way into your soul space.
Mm-hmm.
And once I'm in there, your higher self guides me to find the part of you that you need today to heal today. It's actually pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I'm in that space, I am like, obviously, if you were my client, you're sitting here in real time. But when my eyes are closed and I'm in that space, I'm here with you in that time, whatever time and space your trauma happened. So I will see you, whatever age you are. Sometimes I can pick up on what you're wearing if I'm paying attention. And that just depends on like how I'm feeling. Like sometimes I'm in a hurry. So I'm like, listen, come on, hurry up. I'm hungry and I need to go eat. I want to go with Jade to get bubble tea. So we need to make this quick. But I can communicate like that with your fractured soul. So today a woman was referred to me for soul repair.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget because I'm not educated in all the terminology. This is just my natural state of being. This is how I am. The things that I have learned by doing, by being guided and by hearing the connection from spirit, my guides and stuff. They explain things to me. So I'm not well read in this stuff. I actually avoid reading too much on it because I don't want to be influenced by other people's things, by other people's findings. I want to come in fresh and see what I'm picking up. So I know it's authentic because I need to be validated too when I'm working on people. But this lady, she was referred to me for soul repair, and that's what it is I'm doing. I'm repairing the fractured parts of your soul by finding you in the past. And sometimes it's pretty cool because sometimes it's in this lifetime, sometimes it's in past lifetime, which is really cool because if that's the case, I will sketch. Like if I see you and you're with someone and I'll sketch a picture, and sometimes I'll show my clients the picture, like this is who I saw you with, and most of my clients are women. They'll say, oh my gosh, that's my husband in this lifetime. I'm like, oh, cool. He's having another opportunity to make up for the
for the past
the
lifetime.
pain and sorrow he put you in last life. So that's pretty interesting. But,
Does that happen a lot? People find each other from life to life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we call those soul connections, and we'll probably do a different podcast on that. Soul connections, they're pretty incredible, and yeah, that happens a lot. And you know when you come across someone that you know, you can tell, you can feel it. You're like, wow, I feel like I know you. Like the flow just happens between you very easily. It's nice. Yeah. Any questions so far?
That repeating of meeting someone across different lifetimes, that's interesting. But I think more the topic today is repairing souls.
Yeah.
So let's say this person has had that fracture. Would you say that fracture happens again in their current lifetime, and then that's when they end up trying to find you, or they are in need of you rather, and they're like, oh, how exactly do you help them?
Okay.
Because you go into the soul space, and then like, what does that feel like, right? Like, what does someone need to expect when you're doing
Well,
that?
most people say that they feel very relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually, like I have my hands on them, either on their bellies or on their head like this, or on their feet. When I work remotely with people, my eyes are just closed. Like I'll look at a picture of them, and I, look in the eyes of the picture, close my eyes, and now I am them. So I'm perceiving everything through their eyes. They call that a true empath. That's how I can feel exactly what they're feeling, because I've mastered making sense of what I'm feeling. What I'm trying to do is help you make sense of what you're feeling. So in order to do that, I have to become you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my gift. Because there are people out there who can probably do that, and they can sense like, wow, if I try, I think I can actually see through these other people's eyes. You don't want to do that if you are not invited to do so. That's like, I guess you could call that a psychic vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't need to know everything that's going on with everybody. When you exchange energy with someone or interact with someone, there's an exchange there. You're taking their heavy and you're giving your light. That is, if you're a healer. If you are exchanging, if I did not do this work, and I'm just being nosy, I call it third eyeballing. When you're like, oh, that person seems really messed up, I'm going to kind of try to peek into them. Well, since my intention is to be nosy and not to heal, what's happening is I'm taking their light, because that light is what's going to help me to see their darkness. But where's that? So they're going to take my darkness,
Mm-hmm.
my energy. So a lot of people will do that because they feel really good, in the exchange. I'll have to point it out. I can't think off the top of my head anybody in our circles that might be, maybe one person.
A spiritual lurker.
It just is, sometimes people, they don't realize they have abilities. And so they tune into people, like, oh, you can always tell. Pay attention next time when you're in a group and you see people having conversations. They're like, oh, and you see them get, that's when that connection's made. Mm-hmm. And so Jade, my daughter, his wife, when you guys go out, is she really heavy? Does she have, when she's around people, she comes back and she's really exhausted. She doesn't realize, but she's exchanging energy with people. She's giving her light freely by giving a shit and caring about people, and there's a shift that happens. But the same can happen for people who don't care. They're just being nosy, so they can judge. So then they take your light, you take their heavy. So always, I think that the key is to be aware. You want to be aware of what's going on. Mm-hmm. If I feel like someone's being that way to me, well, I ground and protect every day. So the chances are you're going to feel worse off trying to third eyeball someone like me, because I may or may not have a force field around me that's like bouncing back stuff. You can do that. Mm-hmm. It's like a house. So if your body is your temple, you want to do the things to protect your temple. Is that the saying? Your body is your temple?
Yeah.
Something like that. Is that Christian? Just like your home, my home is a reflection of my insides, right? I like to keep it clean. I like to keep it safe. I saw some ants coming in here because it's Texas, we get ants. And I know they're coming probably from the people who live underneath me. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not as tidy as I am, mm-hmm. and they have crumbs. I don't like crumbs. We have a crumb-free environment here. Why? Because this is Texas, and you will get roaches.
And ants.
And ants. Yeah, we don't have roaches, but I've noticed 3 ants.
That's how it starts.
That's how it starts. There will be an army here pretty soon. But so taking it back to the beginning, when people realize that they have this ability, if their intentions are good and they want to feel better, then they will hear this message and be like, oh man, I do that. Like I pick up stuff on people all the time. And then I'm like, ooh, I wonder if she's going through a divorce. Oh, I wonder if, something. You'd be better off just asking, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Like I'm feeling that you're a little down. You want to talk about it? That'd be the best way to go. Recognizing that you have an extra sensory ability to perceive, like especially the teenagers, they go to school and they are overwhelmed by all the energy. And so you see the emos, and they're exhausted when they come home. A lot of them drop out of school. They don't want to go to school. When you recognize that you have that extra sensory ability, and then you start to do the grounding and protection that I teach people, then it's fascinating because that's when the magic happens. And you realize, wow, this is a thing. And it's very sacred, and it's like you're supernatural, but it's supernatural. So coming back to, what are we going to call this podcast? It's like a supernatural series, trying to figure out who you are, because everything that you are, whether you have abilities or not, it is just all of this, the demons, the curses, the soul connections, the twin flames, all of these things are so supernatural to our state of being if you can understand how the energy flows. And if you can understand that, you can prevent a lifetime of misery just from knowing, knowledge is power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, supernatural. And some of us are a little extra.
A little more super
A little
than natural.
extra. And so we have to do more things to protect that sacred part of us. It is sacred. If you can see dead people and you're a kid and you've been raised in an environment where that has a negative thing to it, you grew up Christian, right?
Mm-hmm.
What in your family, was it good, bad, ugly? How was that perceived?
Well, most Christians don't believe in dead people.
Okay.
Rather, malevolent spirits in disguise. Right? There is a scripture though that talks about, I forget one. I think it was Solomon went to some witches who resurrected the spirit of an old prophet. But that's the only time an actual person was referenced as a spirit. Every other reference is typically demons in disguise.
Okay. See, so I see things differently.
Mm-hmm.
As a shamanic healer, I'm really connected to the earth, Mother Energy, and that Mother Energy is your emotions, your senses. We are extrasensory beings as human beings. And that being said, I deal with pain and suffering, so I'm going to deal primarily with ghosts. The ghosts, that's the part of the soul, that soul fracture, that gets left behind because it has unfinished business. When we die, the light part of us goes to the light, goes to heaven. And so mediums usually channel spirit, which those in the light. I channel the ghosts, those who have unfinished business, because I'm a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And so the experience is quite different because I have to feel them, all their pain and suffering. So it can take a physical toll. See, I'm getting gray hair, and it gives me pimples. Sometimes I hate that, but it saves the soul. All of these things are pretty fascinating. You take a kid that can see dead people and they think that it's evil, and really it's just a dead person that's attracted to you because you're a light in the dark. So they see a light, just like this light here, and they're like looking at the light and they're like, God damn, is that heaven? I got to get into heaven. Because the soul knows, go to the light, go to the light, go to the light. So you're a light in the dark if you have extra sensor, if you have
abilities.
Right. And so they're going to come up and they're going to try to poke at you, and you might feel it. It might feel like fingerprints. Sometimes it feels like a burning sensation, like right in, I call it the angel wings, your scapula.
Mm-hmm.
You might feel them trying to figure out how to get into you. If you happen to have an injury, like surgery, a surgical point, this is how I explain to my clients. So then the ghost can see you. So normally they see a light. Do you see a light?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a surgical site or an injury, can you see the light now?
Mm-hmm.
You see it's brighter, right? So they will see that bright light and they will try to jump in. That's what I call being jumped. It's when the soul, the ghost, is like, shit, I got to go to the light. How do I get into this light? And they'll jump in, and that's when they can jump you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't mean to do it most of the time. Obviously there's, evil people in reality now, and of course if they die, their ghosts are going to be naughty as well. So I call that that's possession.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's not like I don't experience that like the Catholic Church or like movies. I don't think. I guess I can't. I don't know. And I've never actually worked with Catholics in this. I've watched movies. It's not like that for me.
Yeah, most of my knowledge on Catholic exorcism is like 80% from movies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fun to watch though.
It is fun, but I do exorcisms every day, and they're not like that. There are a few times. So if you say I've had, over 1,000 clients, put in, nearly 10,000 hours, maybe 2 people have squirmed around like they do in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
2. Let's exaggerate and say 5. And I don't think I've had 5 people be squirmy when I'm trying to pull shit out of them.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen like that for me. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. It just is. So, and then how do you know if it works? Because a person is fucked out beforehand, and then after the work, they're free. They feel completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time. Sometimes I have a few clients that they struggle, but they're older. Sorry. And I think they struggle because you can have multiple ghosts inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can take time to pull them out. It's not like I just go in there and I'm like, okay, everybody, let's go. Everybody out of her. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
At least it hasn't been yet. And so sometimes people suffer a little bit. I had one lady that 3 sessions, and I think I pulled something out of her every single time. She just is that sensitive, and she had no idea. So you're talking about from a young child already getting things trying to get into her. And this one young girl, so she was admitted. I think she was trying to kill herself at 6. And so
like 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And she was admitted into this psychiatric ward at 6 because she kept trying to kill herself. And what's interesting is I actually got called to their house was having activity, so I was called late at night, rainy night, to go do a house cleansing. They're like, the keys under the mat, help yourself. We're leaving. We're staying at the in-laws' house. I'm like, okay. So Brooke and I go, and and I'm looking for stuff. And right away, an old lady meets me, and she's like, you have to help her. You have to help her. The little girl, she's in danger. And I'm like, okay. So I'm doing everything. And I tell the mom, I'm like, hey, she's like, well, the people who lived here before, the original owners, the old man and a wife, and I think the wife passed. We don't know if she passed in the home, but I drew a sketch, so they could probably find out if they really wanted to. But eventually, either the home is haunted or the person is haunted. And almost always it's the person who's haunted. Because if you have a bunch of people who aren't sensitive living in a house, there's no activity because there's no extra light for ghosts to be drawn to. You take a bunch of light workers or people who have that light energy in them, like when we lived here before, me and all the kids. My God, it was like crazy town, which is how I became this way and started working for strangers, is because my kids were experiencing things like crawling on the wall. I remember Jade seeing something crawling towards her, like all disfigured. Did she ever tell you about that?
Yeah.
It was scary. That was in high school. Anyway, so that's how I learned how to start doing the things that I can do, because I had to do those things. Clean the house, grounding and protection. That's where I learned that. I had to learn how to protect myself and then protect my family and my home. So I learned how to push that energy out to protect the home because the kids are too little to learn to do that. Anyway, so back to this young girl, I have to tell her mom, she probably should come in so I can work on her directly. And when I worked on her, she had an old man attached to her. And he killed himself by he strangled himself. I think either he hanged himself or I think he hanged himself. I can't remember exactly. It might be in the notes. But I remember definitely he hanged himself because when I told the mom, she was like, oh my God, every time my daughter has tried to kill herself, it's been through strangulation with the sheets of the bed, And so once I got that energy out of her, she felt so much better. And so when I worked on her, she was 10. But when she started having these issues, she was 6. I remember that story it was pretty incredible because that's life-changing for somebody. Now, her story doesn't end there because she's extrasensory. So she has to learn the importance of grounding and protection because that's how we as spirit spice people, that's what I call people who are extrasensory. She, as a spirit spice girl, has to take care of her mind, body, and spirit so it doesn't happen. She is prone, she's going to be prone to being jumped. She has that ability to channel spirit. So moving forward, she might, if she were interested in studying and tapping into that true nature, she'd make an amazing medium, potentially. It just depends if that's what she wants. For people who ignore their gifts, they have a lifetime, potentially, of just chaos. Because then things are jumping in, possession, and then you're not yourself. And I get a lot of that, a lot.
People just saying, I'm not me.
I'm not me. Something is wrong. I don't want to leave my house. And when I leave my house, I want to go home. And when I'm in my home, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I have done, I think I did a live or a video about that before. That's actually quite common, especially with people who are suicidal. They hear that narrative over and over again. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. That's the ghost inside of them talking, wanting to get out. They want to go home. They want to go to the light. They want to go home. They want to, so that's the narrative that someone who's suicidal is hearing. So I love working with people who are suicidal because if nothing else helps, medicating and all that stuff might numb it so you can't hear the sound, feel that feeling that, because usually you want to kill yourself in the same way that the ghost killed themselves in a past life. Isn't that weird? It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It's like spiritual resonance.
Spiritual resonance. And, a lot of people get mad, like, I don't want them jumping in. Well, they're trying to get into heaven. They're trying to find their way home. They thought you were heaven because you're a light in the dark. So instead of getting mad, be protective over your energy. Be aware. Awareness is the number one thing. So for people who have these gifts and they bring their awareness to it, then they can do the things to protect themselves and to grow and nurture in that way. That's when the magic happens, when you see people growing in their magic. And now they're not scared in the middle of the night because they hear these things, they see these things, they sense these things, they have an awareness, and they're like, oh, not tonight, I have a headache, and they push the energy out. You can do that. You're the boss. It's God's gift to you that you get to decide who you want to let into your energy field.
Mm-hmm.
If you are in a very weakened state, then I think these darker things can kind of take over. So that's what we want to avoid, right?
Right, yeah.
Getting too fucked out, too depressed, once they're in that state, they need a little bit of help. So that's what I do.
And those are the fractures that you were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, you talk about somebody who's so fractured because they've had so much trauma in their life. That's a lot of, there's a lot of room for darkness to jump in. And those, worst case, those are the people you see under the bridges, the homeless people, the schizophrenics and stuff like that. People who, I'll never forget, in Spokane, I was out on the deck because I think there was a full moon that night, and I like to go outside sometimes and look at the full moon, but I could hear someone talking, and there was a homeless guy, in the back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that park.
That park, and there's a beautiful willow tree, and there was a homeless guy sitting underneath the tree, and I could hear him talking, and he's like, "No, Daddy, please, I don't want to, I don't want to make you mad. Please don't be mad at me." And then, "God damn it, you're such a worthless piece of shit, son." And because I could hear him talking from both sides. It was so super sad to hear him having that conversation back and forth. But it was in the middle of the night, so it's not like I'm going to show him. Well, hi.
Yeah, that might
I'm
not be
Janet,
safe.
the energy healer. He could have been on drugs. He could have been, clearly he's out of his mind. There is possibly a point of no return.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can catch it early and heal some of these fractures, maybe we can prevent, that state in which there's
Really not much you can do.
I don't know. I haven't worked on anybody in that state, so I don't know, but I usually work on somebody, they go live their life, they come back in a month, I work on them again. I think they'd have to live with me, and I'd have to constantly be working on them.
Right.
And the only person that gets to do that is Brooke. She's not schizophrenic.
This brings up the question, right? So with drugs, for instance, I'd imagine your protocol would be, first, let's get your physical body clean, and then we can start working on the spiritual. But that sort of brings up the question, what are the things that people do that prevent healing?
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's escape. I'm not saying it's not enjoyable for some, but again, you have to be aware of your intention. Is your intention to escape, to numb, to ignore, to avoid? Then that's a problem. Sometimes the girls and I, we like to go out and have fun. We're escaping from the day to day, but we're not escaping from a bigger issue. At least I'm not. But a lot of people who are alcoholics, they start creating a habit they feel an emotion, and it's like, oh, I had a bad day. I'm going to go have a drink. Oh, today was a great day. Let's celebrate. Let's go have a drink. It's the Super Bowl. I'm going to have a drink. No, Dancing with the Stars. You know what? I'm going to dance. I'm going to have a drink. So then you create that habit, but really, if you're feeling all these emotions, excitement, joy, pain, sorrow, fear, jealousy, and you associate, the drinking or the drugs with that, then that's when that addiction behavior starts to settle in. And so usually people who come see me aren't actively in that state. They are trying to heal from that state. They've recognized they have a problem. They have been clean, somewhat for a little bit of time, and they just need help because the hunger is still there. It's a hunger to heal, but it feels like a hunger to, whether it's putting food in their mouth or still trying to have a drink or smoke or, whatever. Those are my favorites because I love helping them through that. They're tired of being on meds because they recognize I've been on anxiety and depression medications. I mean, some of them for decades, years. And so nothing changes for them except that they feel nothing now. Before they felt everything, now they feel nothing. Life still sucks. There's no, if medication prevents you from feeling the bad, well, it's going to prevent you from feeling the good. And so then you'll just feel void or complacent. That's a dirty word. Nothing. You just exist from your day to day. And a lot of moms that I work with, they can see how their numbness affects their families, their children, because they can't touch joy. They don't have that desire, because desire is an emotion. And when you're numb, you don't have the desire to go out and do something fun. And even if you know in your mind, oh, I need to go do something fun with my kids, we'll make cookies or we'll go. But you're still like this, navigating. So the energy's not there. The true desire energy, the true fun energy, the true joyful energy is not there. And that's when they find their way to me. It's like, I am tired of feeling nothing. I would like to feel something, even if it's pain. At least it's something. So going back in time to figure out what happened and finding that part of them and pulling it back. If I pull back your yellow, that color represents free will, freedom, decision making. And if that's what comes up, it's because they want to feel better. They want to start wanting for themselves. They want to start taking control of their lives. I love it when I repair the yellow, because that's when you start feeling joy. When you do something that you want and you accomplish that, that's joyful.
Everybody likes joy.
I do. Now, on the flip side, when you lose that part of you, you're more easily controlled by other people. And so then you're just like, I don't care. What do you want? Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And then you live a lifetime of being a people pleaser. And that's no fun, because if you don't have someone telling you what to do, then your life seems very lonely and boring. So, you want that. You want to be able to want for yourself. And most people who are lost, they don't want for themselves. They don't know how. They've spent a lifetime trying to please others, whether it's parents or a spouse or whoever. Maybe they grew up in a family that didn't allow for that. They're very controlling and, so then that you just do what you're told. A lot of people have that. They're very good at being told what to do. I'm not like that. Don't tell me what to do. I had to tell Brooke that today. She said, you need to be nicer to Penny and let her sniff and explore. And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm like, don't tell me how to raise my dog. Because Penny needs to be disciplined. Otherwise, she'll be out of control. Just like children, they need to be disciplined. Otherwise, they're a handful and then nobody enjoys them. And then that's the energy that they feel from people. I don't enjoy you, Penny, because you keep jumping up on me. Nobody likes that. At least I don't like that. And, it's good for us to teach our kids to recognize their yellow. Want for yourself, but be disciplined. Have self-control. Decision making. That's a good one, yellow. You've got some yellow in you.
I would hope so.
Disciplined, yeah.
Try to be.
So by encouraging people to find their true colors, that's what my work does. It helps to get them back to that natural state of being, their supernatural self. That's where all your power is. I generally don't like to use the word power when talking about healing or abilities or anything like that, because it's not a power. It's not like a superpower. It's just It's just who you are. And if you see it as a superpower, your intention might shift a little bit on how you use it instead of how you appreciate it and hold it sacred.
That's true, but there is power in strength. In strength, there is the ability to do good or that which you need to do.
Or
so they all come hand in hand.
power in weakness, in other words, holding that power over people who aren't strong enough and then manipulating and controlling them,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I see far too often. If you are true to your nature, you are less likely to be controlled. You are less likely to be manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how many colors you have. You could be someone who's, 20 colors is your true nature versus somebody who's 96 colors is their true nature. People are different. We meet people and it's like, wow, you're a really colorful look at Aquaman, the actor. He's a very colorful person. He has a lot of colors. I watched Aquaman today.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Got some Jason Momoa on your mind?
Yeah. Jason Momoa, yeah. Very colorful person, so his energy is very, how do you say? I don't want to make up a word. Magnanimous? Is that a word? Sometimes I make up words. Yeah, people are drawn to him because he's so colorful. And when you have a colorful human being like that, they actually can influence and ignite and affect other people in a positive way. Or if he had a dark side, he'd be really good at manipulating people. He could probably have lots of women lined up and manipulate them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's not like that.
No. Not him. Not Aquaman.
I'm sure he keeps his dark side under wraps. Although it's important to have a dark side. We have our light and we have our dark, and there's yin and yang. And, the dark side is who's going to protect you. You take the kids that are very sensitive in high school, and the dark part of them is going to be the part that's not going to cave into peer pressure. You're like, fuck you, Billy.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not going to go skip school and smoke behind the... No. Is that dark? I guess not really. That's not. That was my first... That was the dark nature back in the day. Now it's probably a little worse these days with kids.
Yeah, I don't know about what kids are facing nowadays. It's so different than how it was. But this idea of being a monster but having it under voluntary control, right? That idea is really important that everyone have mastered, because there's no virtue in pacifism if you're weak, if you're incapable of inflicting harm on others. There's no virtue in the fact that you don't inflict harm on others. There's virtue whenever you have strength, you have that ability.
Yeah, and rein it in.
You have it under control, because that same part of you that can inflict harm, let's say, is also that same part that can do the protecting, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you let's say you're not very strong, and your child is choking on something, and you don't have the strength to do the Heimlich, that could be some trouble.
My first thought, so Penny choked on a magnolia seed on our walk today. Brooke just got her CPR license 3 days ago.
Yeah, very recent.
Very recent. And I'm like, Brooke, oh my God, Penny's choking. She's like, so I'm like, she's like, no, I can't. I'm like, you have to. You just learned the class. You learned how to do it. I haven't learned how to do it. I know how to do it. If I needed to do it, I have done it. I did on Sammy when he was little.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm so empathic, it's like, let me hold space and keep you calm, Brookie Bear, while you fucking do it. And if all goes to shit, I will cross Penny's soul into the light of heaven. Oh God, I would have done it if I was the only one there to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't. And I was like, okay.
But Brooke was successful.
She was.
And Penny's okay.
Penny was like, eh, and then, but she got something stuck, so we had to call Shay, and Shay had to come. Shay would have been an amazing doctor. I guess he'll be amazing with whatever you do. What are you doing right now? coding?
Data science. Yeah.
Data science. I guess that's beyond coding, algorithms and stuff like that. Yeah. Smart stuff. Yeah. Remember this. If you die in my presence, no, if you choke in my presence, there's a good chance I will do my best, but it's not my forte. I will cross you over into the light of God, though. For free.
And on that, I think we can end this one.
Perfect.
Yes.
Bye.